chew meat, you cannot chew your regular fish, and they have this taste of blood in their mouth. These are some of the signs. Hello everyone. Once again, you are welcome to Mba TV Ghana, and this is Time with your Dentist. We are going to continue our series on common dental conditions that are easily preventable. We did talk about dental caries the last time, I think the last previous sessions, and we continued with disease of the gum, and with that we talked about two main conditions, but we divided them into two. Talked about the gingivitis, that is disease affecting the gum alone. So today we are going to continue with the second aspect of disease affecting the gum, and that is what is called periodontitis. Now it seems like a big word, but I'll break it down so that we can all understand it. Now, perio means around. So like we talked about the last time, the tooth is supported by four main structures: the gum, the bone itself, certain fibers that holds the teeth together, and then a lining around the tooth we call the cementum. When we did the anatomy of the mouth and the teeth, we did talk about all of that. So perio means around, odontum is tooth, so it means that disease that affects the structures around the tooth. It's as simple as that. So apart from the gum, which we talked about in detail the last time, the rest of the structures supporting the teeth can also be diseased. Most significantly is the bone. So when we did talk about gingivitis, that is inflammation of the gum or disease of the gum. We did talk about certain signs like bleeding on brushing. When you brush your teeth, you see blood and the likes. When gingivitis left untreated could progress to periodontitis. So we always say that gingivitis will lead to periodontitis if the gingivitis is not treated. So today we are talking about periodontitis, or disease affecting the structures that supports the teeth. And so that is where our focus is going to be, and it has similarities with gingivitis, so we are not going to be so long with that. Now, there are two main types of this disease condition. There is one that we call chronic periodontitis. Now, that is quite common with us because it's brought about by what I have termed neglect of our mouth. If we neglect our mouth, we do not take good care of it, then eventually we will it will lead us to having chronic periodontitis. There's one type that we call, or that is called, the aggressive periodontitis. Now for that, normally happens among young group, and also runs through families. That is there, but that is not so common as compared to the chronic periodontitis. But then aggressive type is also there, but today our concentration is going to be on the chronic type, because like I said, that is comes by as a result of the neglect of our mouth. So that is periodontitis. Now, what I want us to understand and know is the signs. Of course, we did talk about most of them the last time, and it's the same thing because it's the same structures that support the teeth. And so one of the key signs that you have is that you still bleed when you brush. So there's bleeding, especially on brushing. Um, Not to say that all bleeding on brushing is periodontitis, but is one of the signs. Now, when we progress, one of the things that you also see is that your gum recedes, or you realize that your gum is um, either coming down, it goes down, so it makes your teeth looks longer than usual. So that is what we call gingival or gum recession. When the gum recedes or go down, either the upper or the lower teeth, when you have the gum receding, that is one of the signs of periodontitis. And that is also, it happens because when you have this disease condition, it actually destroys the fibers that we talked about, or what is supposed to anchor the gum to the teeth. So these fibers are destroyed, and once they are destroyed, it means that the gum do not have any support, so they will eventually get down. So that's one of the signs. So you have some people coming you to say that my teeth are now looking longer than it was before. It's not as if the teeth are looking longer, but the gum or your gum has receded, or it has either gone down, so it's exposing certain parts of the teeth that needs not to be exposed, and that will make the teeth look a bit longer than usual. Now, as this disease progresses, what you realize is that the spaces in between your teeth, naturally there are spaces in between your teeth, but when you have this condition that we are talking about, it actually enlarges the spaces in between the teeth, and so you have the situation where whenever you eat, you have pieces of the food getting stuck in between the teeth, and that is where most people also aggravate or make the situation worse by using toothpicks. Toothpicks are not something we recommend at all, because it also it does a lot of damage to your gum, and so rather prefer that you use a dental floss to remove anything stuck in between your teeth than using a toothpick. So that's one of the things that you find. All of a sudden now you cannot chew meat, you cannot chew your regular fish and the regular things that you love eating, because anytime you eat, you have these food stuff getting stuck in between your teeth, and that becomes a worry, especially if you find yourself in public areas where you cannot be picking your teeth and all that. So that's one of the things. It means that the fibers are destroyed, and so there's the gaps in between the teeth are widened, and so you have like we call it pocket or reservoir that actually holds the food, and that is also very uncomfortable. Now some of us will live with these signs because when it comes, probably he or she will get a toothpick to get it out. Now if you do not do anything about it, it's a progressive disease. It progresses and now catches the bone. Now your bone begins to wear off. Now the bone is the super support of the teeth, if I can say it that way. And so the moment that the bone starts also to wear off or to give up, then it means that the teeth do not have any support at all. And so the bone also gets affected if the disease is not treated, and then it also begins to wear off. Now, how do you know that my bone is wearing off? This is where your teeth becomes a bit mobile or shaky. So you realize that when you touch your teeth, it's not as firm as it used to be, and so it's a bit mobile. It means that the support that the tooth was getting is gone, or is gradually going. So that is one of the things. But the moment you get to where the teeth is shaking, it means that the disease is advanced. It means that the disease, and that is not where we want to get to. We do not want you to get there, because when you get there, treatment becomes a bit difficult and quite expensive. And so mobility of teeth, or your teeth shaking, is one of the signs. One of the other signs that we did talk about the last time too is also bad breath, of course. Why? Because when the gaps are widened, when the gaps are collecting food debris, um, definitely leftover foods are not pleasant. And so that's what also happens in the mouth. You have a lot of collection of food debris, which also means that you have a lot of bacteria in around that environment, and they produce sulfur containing compounds. And these sulfur containing compounds actually what gives bad breath. We'll talk about bad breath in detail in the subsequent session, but these are some of the signs that you can pick up. I've talked about bleeding on brushing. Sometimes you can, when you spit into your sink, you bleed. Some people even just after eating have this taste of blood in their mouth. These are some of the signs. The second thing I talked about is that you see your gums going down or your gums receding. That is what we call gingival or gum recession. It's because the fibers that are supposed to hold the teeth are being hold the gum are being destroyed, and so the gum has no support. Eventually, it will give up. So you may have your teeth looking longer than usual. So that is the second thing. The third thing that I did talk about is that now the disease is a progressive one. So if left untreated, also gets to the bone starts wearing off, and I mentioned that the bone is super support of the teeth, and so the teeth will start shaking or moving. So you realize that now you cannot enjoy your meals that you used to because the teeth are not strong enough to help you chew or to eat those wonderful meals. So that is one of the things. But I also said that when it gets there, it means that the disease is well advanced, and we need to um, take care of it. But we don't want to get there. So that is what this whole session is about: prevention, prevention, prevention. We don't want us to get to the stage where you have your teeth being mobile. At that stage, treatment is a bit complicated for the dentist and also a bit expensive for you, the patient, as well. So the fourth thing is bad breath. Obviously, when you have food collecting in the pockets that I've talked about, then it means that you're going to have not pleasant. So these are some of the few things that you get to know when you're having periodontitis. Now, let's look at what causes this. The same. Yes, I talked about the other type, the aggressive type. That is familial or is genetic. That is more like it's found in families. Certain mutations of certain genes causes that. That mostly happens in young adults, no fault of anyone. So that is, I would say that that's not what I'm going to talk about. But for the other causes, the chronic type, the common or the primary cause of it is when you have dirt, or we call it plaque. We talked about it in our previous session, in your mouth. We can have a whole other types, periodontitis as a result of systemic factors and all that. But in all of these, the primary cause is when you have this plaque in your mouth. So then what do? I mean, the beautiful thing about dental conditions is that they are so preventable. It's just about you knowing your risk factors. Once you get to know the risk factors, you reduce the risk factors, and voila, that's it. You never have to deal with any dental condition in your life. We just have to be aware of the risk factors, and that's it. So once I know that plaque is the primary cause of this condition, what do? I just need to get rid of it. How do I get rid of it? This is not something you can remove at home. So we talked about it. Visit your dentist at least once or twice every year. Let them get it removed for you through professional cleaning that we technically call scaling and polishing. I'm sure most of us have heard that before. So that is the common thing that we can do to help with this kind of disease. And even though I've talked about certain signs, most of the time before you catch any of these signs, the disease is well advanced. And so if you're a regular visitor of your dentist, the dentist will take time to examine each of your teeth to know which ones are being affected and not. So let me reiterate that visiting the dentist is one of the key preventive means or ways of our dental conditions, so that we do not even get there at all. Now, we talked about some of the preventive things in our previous session, and it applies to this condition as well: eating well, limiting snacking, brushing before bedtime, and all of that, exercising, all those things that we talked about goes a long way to actually prevent this disease condition. What will interest you to know, and in a subsequent session we will talk about all these, is that actually preventing this periodontitis or periodontal condition can actually help you reduce a lot of our lifestyle disease that we are battling with today, like diabetes, like hypertension, and certain cardiac condition, cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease. All this, it will interest you to know that just keeping your mouth healthy can actually help keep these chronic silent killers of disease that all over the world we are battling. We're trying to find ways and means to solve it. So, people, I would like to bring today's session to an end. And like we keep saying, it's an interactive session. Leave your questions, your comments at the comment section, and whichever question that I come across, I will do well to give an answer. Once again, this is your dentist, Dr. Boateng, on Mba TV Ghana, and please do well to subscribe. Thank you.